Ready?
Yeah.
I forget how we start.
We just say
you
hello.
start.
Yeah. You ready?
Okay.
Okay, ready? Okay. Hello. Welcome to
I have a strange story podcast. Yay!
All right. Yeah.
I'm in.
So this is the podcast where two sisters retell people's strange and paranormal stories and experiences. I'm Lindsay.
I'm Rebecca.
And we have a guest today.
Her name is Crystal.
Hello.
She's below us in the video.
Here I am.
Hello.
I am Crystal.
And so we'll have a guest joining us today, but first we'll talk about some announcements. Number one, my cat Lily is here today and she is being awful. She's awful. That's not the most important announcement though. Becky, I think you have a few announcements that you wanted to share.
Yep, I do. So a couple of things. Thank you so much, Crystal, for coming on.
Yes.
Thank you.
Very excited to hear your stories. And there's one in particular that I can't wait, the one that you sent me. And I don't know if Lindsay has heard it yet, but you're going to love it, Lindsay.
Yeah.
So a couple of things. I do have I guess a shout out for one of my friends. She right now is battling pancreatic cancer and she needs funds. So anything can help. I'm going to post her GoFundMe in the show notes and then also at our Instagram page on our link tree. I also created a t-shirt design for her that I'm going to be putting up in Redbubble. And all the proceeds that we make for that are going to go to help her. And I think that's about it. So you'll see some new designs soon. If you want to get that, that'd be great. Anything that helps. If you can, share her GoFundMe page too. That'd be awesome. And then she's also selling jewelry on her Etsy page called Cemetery Cat. And she's going to do that for as long as she can, I imagine. So that's it. I just wanted to give a shout out to that. You'll get all the information after the show. And yeah. Crystal,
Thank you.
Tell us about yourself.
Well, hello. My name is Crystal. I'm just a Midwest girl. I grew up in Indiana, but a couple years ago, I moved down to Florida with my childhood sweetheart, which is a really sweet story. Yeah, we grew up in Indiana together, actually. And then he moved down to Florida when I think we were seniors in high school around that time. And so he's been down here. And then, Facebook, I was like, what's up? Like one night, because he was my first kiss, it's a big deal. It's one of those things.
So cute.
Yeah, I could go on about it, but let's get to the spooky stuff. No, he's great. I love him so much. And so we're down here and he's got some kids. So I'm stepmomming and, I'm really into Disney. So it works out and I craft. So did you see that segue? And I craft. So kids and I make crafts. But I also have an Instagram where you can view some of the crafts I make. I specifically needle felt, which I'm kind of excited to just momentarily talk about because it's one of those things that you can show the pictures of it. I don't feel like it really you're like, oh, cool, like a thing made out of wool. No, I stabbed raw wool for 20 hours with a barbed needle and my hands feel like hamburger. And I created a replica of this thing and it's awesome. Sometimes it's strange because I do pets and it feels weird because you get the pet's eye wrong. So you have to gouge it out and start over and you're like, really glad. No, sometimes I'm like, I should do videos of this process. And other times I'm like, no, I shouldn't show anyone this. It's terrible. But I really like to do pop culture, movie replica things. I've done a lot of Star Wars recently, which has been fun. And then the pets, and then I do some floral. So if you're on Instagram and you want to check out The Felted Frog, that's my page. And I do all kinds of stuff. I'm open for commissions. I'm trying to make a go of it, trying to make a thing. So
that's awesome, dude.
Yeah, that's what I do. I have a lot of really great friends that are super supportive. I keep getting like random orders of cool things that like pump me up and it makes me feel good. So it's been awesome. But many other random people want, tiny wool statues of your cat. It's like a marble statue, but with hair.
You can pet it.
Yeah, you can pet it.
Yeah.
And the other cool thing is that it's actually you can make cats like it. You can make cat toys. So I've actually
That's a really good idea.
like you can fill it with catnip and then it like belts in so the cat's like, God, but they it's in there. So thought about starting that up. So that's what I do.
That's so cool. And I've been to her page. She's amazing. Everything that she makes is beautiful. So check out the felted frog.
Appreciate it.
On Instagram.
I got, I'm open to anything, all kinds of things. So anyway, so that's what I do. And then I also, in my spare time, while I'm doing that, I listen to spooky podcasts, which is how I found you guys, because I was actually I was struggling one night. I felt like every single one I started to listen to, I was just like, I'm not feeling this. Because I really like listening to, I like to hear people's actual stories, like I don't want to hear things that are clearly made up. And I like some fictional things, but I'm a reader, so I can focus better on, I don't know. Anyways, I prefer podcasts about people's actual experiences. So I just kept like searching around and I stumbled upon you guys. And I think in the first episode, and I can't even remember which one of you had said it, you said all alien abductions ended in anal probes. Yeah, and the butt probes. And I was like, I can't even remember what I was doing, but I stopped and I was like, oh my God, I have to send my story. Right then and there, I was like, no, sometimes it can be other orifices.
I'm so excited to hear your story.
Bum, bum, bum. Okay, so.
But I have to tell you, Crystal, I completely, I regret talking about butt probing. I regret everything that I've said about aliens because once I saw Encounters of the Fourth Kind, is that the name of it?
Yes.
Yeah,
I was Encounters of the Third Kind?
I think there's several. One.
There's the 4 one where it's like it's a movie and they're reenacting the aliens that went into the town.
That's just the fourth kind.
The fourth kind.
Fourth kind.
Fucking done. I hate aliens. I'm scared of them. I have a tattoo of a UFO and I completely fucking regret it. I'm scared.
Dude, no. Listen. I cried in the theaters when I saw that movie. I cried in the theaters because I took my little sister and I was like, what have I done? What have I done? This is terrible. I was already terrified of aliens, but it's one of those, like flirting with danger. It's like, I'm not kidding. Like ghosts all day long. I kind of feel like I could walk into a room and be like, let's go. But like if it's aliens, it's like, dude, anytime there's like, they can come get you and you can't get away. I'm not about that.
You can't brawl with them.
Yeah. They can just like, you're gone.
Yeah.
And then you don't remember.
Tell us what happened.
Okay. So when I was young, my mother was also young. She's like OG teen mom. So I was probably like 2.5, which puts her at about, she's like 20 at the time. So we lived with my grandpa and we lived on like a pretty busy street, which is important because she started her bedroom window faced the busy street. She kind of started to like drift off to sleep and her window was open with the blinds down, but kind of cracked because it was like, like a balmy, stormy night. I don't know that. I'm just throwing it in for, aesthetic. So she's drifting off to sleep and she starts to see some like flashing lights, but not uncommon, busy street, like people getting pulled over all the time. Could have been an accident. So she's kind of ignoring it. But then hark in the distance, she starts to hear me crying. And as she hears me crying, she starts to look at the window and she sees like a little bit of smoke billowing into her window. And she's like, well, that's not normal. So she gets up and I start crying. I'm crying harder at this point. So she gets up and she opens her door and she starts running down the hallway. My bedroom was down the hallway from hers. And she's running down the hallway, but the hallway like extends out on her. So she's like, okay, I'm dreaming. And she can't, she's hard as she runs, she can't get to my bedroom door. So she closed her eyes and she said, I'm running as fast as I can. And she opens her eyes and she's at my bedroom door. And she opens it just in time to see something crawling out my window. And I'm standing in my crib crying and I have a bloody nose. And then she wakes up and she's in her bedroom and she checks on me and everything's fine. And she's like, okay, whatever. She goes to bed. It was a dream. What happens was the next morning she wakes up and comes downstairs. I'm 2.5, mind you. And she said she came down. I was already sitting at the table eating breakfast with my grandpa. And I looked at her and I said, Mom, some creatures came into my room last night and put something up my nose. And then I just went right back to eating my cereal.
What did she do?
Yeah.
What did she do?
Listen, I'm going to have to ask her, to be honest. I should have prepped for that question. Shit.
Yeah.
Because, like, I think she literally was just like, what? You know, like, it was one of those, like, what? Like, I'm sure she probably, like, told my papa, and he was probably like, shit. Like, damn.
Do you remember any of it?
Okay, so here's the funny thing. I don't remember that. And I can't remember if this dream comes before knowing that story or after. Because I've kind of, like, my mom probably told me that story way younger than I needed to know it because I've always been scared of aliens. But also my papa's fault. One day he was like, oh, here's a bunch of Twilight Zone episodes. Have fun. And How to Serve Man came on. And I was like, well, that's 9 feet of awful. It's going to eat me. Great. So she, hold on. What was the question? This is what happens.
Do you remember? I think the question was,
thank
do you
you.
remember
Yes,
it?
do I remember? This is a problem. I tendril story tell, and I branch off, and sometimes I need help. You need to train me right back in because I lose it. Okay, so I remember this dream where I am in the basement and of a house. I don't know if this house had a basement, but I'm in a basement, and it's kind of like I remember that the dream is like it's yellow, like the whole dream is yellow. And I just remember getting something plugged into my nose. Like, I remember, like, something getting put in my nose, and I was younger, and I just remember being like, why am I down in this basement laying on this, like, I was laying on a table getting something in my nose, but I knew I was in the basement. But that's it. It's very blurry. And it's possible that was, like, you know, my mom told me the story, and later on I was like, my God, my nose.
Yeah.
Or am I remembering? Who knows?
Yeah.
I do have one theory that's on like a totally different spectrum because my mom was so young and we were really, really close because, you know, she was 17 when she had me. So we like grew up together almost essentially. So I almost wonder, was it a shared dream? You know, like, did we have some kind of weird, just the same dream? Or I have another story that follows this because I remembered this later on. And here's the other fun thing. I think that, you know, like I said, I'm an anxious person. I almost wonder if, you know, sometimes shit happens that I just go, I'm just going to not remember that.
Yeah.
And I had kind of forgotten this moment. And this story is for my sister. Hey, Anna, if you listen. Sorry about this one. Because later on in life, we lived in this house. I was probably, I'm going to say like 8 or 9 at the time. So my little sister would have been like 1 to 2 years old. I'm going to stick her around. Oh, shit. I'm going to put her around 2 years old, too. Same age I was. All right.
Weird.
They're following us. Great. So I remember waking up one night. There was a period of time where, you know, we've all gone through that time. Yeah, I didn't have a bedroom door because I was a shit. So I just remember waking up and hearing something. And I was like, what is that sound? And my bedroom branched off the living room and my sister's bedroom branched off the living room. So I could like walk into the living room and like, hello, like see her bedroom door. But our beds were both away, like we couldn't see our beds. So I came out of my bedroom and looked over to the wall and I was like, that's an eerie glowing light coming out of her bedroom window. And I was just hearing a conversation that was like, it wasn't English.
Weird.
It was aliens talking and watching my sister slip, probably putting something up her nose. I just remember something happened and I was one of those where I was like, something's happening right now. I'm going to go back to bed. And I like backed it up and went back to bed. Like I remember telling my mom the next morning where I was like, I think there were some creatures in Anna's room last night. My mom was like, that was a dream. But I was like, how are you going to say that to me?
Yeah.
Yeah. I had something up my
Lady.
nose, Mom.
Come on. Like, so, it's always been one of those, like, aliens really, I don't do it, man. I don't like, I'm not like, I like stars in pictures because I'm not looking at the night sky because someone's going to get me. My grandpa had he was really into Travis Walton. So like I watched Fire in the Sky when I was so young that like I was having nightmares of those alien, like, I don't know. My family's been feeding this.
That's a scary movie now. That's a scary fucking movie now.
Yeah, it's frightening shit.
Yeah.
Scarring. Thanks, Mom. It's a good thing. It's good. It's good stuff. I like.
So did y'all have anything else growing up like that? Did you see ghosts? Did you have anything else paranormal, like you and your sister or you and your mom or anything?
Load. No more aliens. Like that's like only alien thing I had. That was my end to you guys. But here I go. Cause like I was literally like, okay, my only way to really properly probably do this without jumping around for my sake is to chronologically tell my stories. And it starts with my papa's house. So, and it's coincidentally, it's not the house that I was nasally probed in. We like right after my nose got abducted, we moved to this house that it was probably like, I have to ask my aunt because she is like the keeper of all things in our family. So it's old, like early 1900s, really groovy house, right? Like, and I'm going to try to lay it out a little bit and not get too in depth with it because the layout's important. But when you walk into the house, it just had a lot of things about it that were very quirky and neat. Directly to the right-hand side is like, it's a plant room now because it's a sunroom and it was really good. My grandma grows her plants in there, but there's a hot tub in there when they first got the house, which is like super 70s, which was like the coolest thing. My cousins and I spent a lot of time in the hot tub as kids, but later on it just became like a total, just like a mold situation, right? Like who needs a giant tub of hot water in their house? Not a good idea. So the hot tub room was there. And then the rest of the house was built around the staircase. So you could literally go from like the kitchen shoot off into my papa's room, which then went into the dining room, which then it circled around. And there were a couple other rooms coming off of it. But it's like the staircase is central to this house because then you go up the staircase and it's like a 2 landing staircase. And then the upstairs circles directly around it. Okay. This is important because I had my playroom it was an A-frame room, and you could look out the door of my playroom, and there was actually a little balcony right there that went across the stairwell, and then you could see into this other room. It was like, I have a picture, and I'll send it, because last time I was there, I was like, I need to take a picture of this because it's so hard to describe. But essentially, I could be sitting in the middle of my playroom and look across this stairwell into the library, and that's what the room was. We called it the library because it was just like my papa was an antique collector, which is where all this shit came from, I'm sure.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. I've got
only bought haunted objects.
Literally, like I'm sure, like he had a lot of cap guns and marbles, but then just a lot of other neat and quirky things. And here's the other best part, where my papa collected like older toys. My grandma was really into the newer stuff. When Furbies came out, she was like, this is going to be a thing. They have so many Furbies. Like,
that's
in
creepy.
the box. Yeah, it's great. It's awesome. I don't look at them because I'm always like, oh, these motherfuckers are going to blink at me. Like, I can't. So this is the best part. So with this particular story, I don't remember the little boy. But I apparently came downstairs and I said, Papa, there is a little boy and he is upstairs picking on me. What I do remember, I don't remember that at all. What I do remember is my grandpa came upstairs and he walked from room to room and he went, you leave her alone. She lives here. This is her house. And he was angry. And I remember sitting in my playroom being like, Papa's going to kill this. Like, I was like, he's mad. Like, but I don't remember at that point. What I do remember is after that, I didn't play upstairs. My bedroom was upstairs. I had a hard time sleeping, but I didn't play upstairs. Now, when you go down the stairs, there's a little landing and you have to turn to go the rest of the way. There's a mirror on that landing. A couple of weeks later, my grandma's coming down the stairs and she stops and she looks in that mirror. There's a little boy sitting on the staircase behind her, like a little newsboy cap, just sitting there, like all sweet, you know, like kind of looking down. One of those marbles or cap guns is this, like, my papa's got his toy locked away in a glass cabinet and he's just sitting there trying to play with my shit. So then he does play with my stuff. This is when my mom was like, I think we're going to move out. My papa's like, his has since passed, but my grandma still lives in the house. So like the house is still there.
Wow.
But after this scenario, my mom was like, we're living somewhere else. So when you left the playroom, you could go left to my bedroom or right to this tiny little bathroom. And then from that tiny little bathroom, it led right into my mom's room. So that's where she always got ready. And one day she was standing in her little bathroom, bent over, blow drying her hair. And the way she was bent over, she could see into my playroom. Now, because it's this quirky old house, there's like a 3-inch step down into the playroom. I don't know, like if it was an add-on at some point, what the deal with it is, but there's a step. So she's blow drying her hair. And as she's going, it's a wiffle ball and it starts kind of rolling back and forth. She doesn't pay it any mind because she's blow drying her hair and it's a wiffle ball. She's like, oh, it's caught in the draft of my blow dryer. She goes, then the wiffle ball did a figure 8, rolled to the step, hopped up the step, and circled around and stopped at her foot.
Whoa.
You know, like somebody that was like, hey, come play with me. And my mom said, I threw that blow dryer down and I've never round down a set of stairs faster in my life. And not much longer, and it was when we moved into the house where my sister got her nose probed by aliens. So
what the fuck, dude?
Yeah. So I only had one other personal experience in the house really after that. It gives me the creeps. But, oh wait, hold on. One thing that did, like, I'm like, wait. This is why I should have made notes. One other thing though that did affect me with the house is dreams. I'm really into dreams, right? Like when I was really young, I was lucid dreaming all the time. As I got older, I got super into medical cannabis. So that affects your dreaming.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Yeah, it does.
yeah. So I don't lucid dream these days, but damn, do I sleep good. In the lucid dreaming, it was cool. But every once in a while, I would end up in my papa's house in the dreams. Like it was like this weird, you know, like there's an energy there. When I lived there, and it's only when I lived there, I never had these dreams after. But living in the house, I would have this, I don't want to call it a night terror, but it was definitely a repetitive dream where I would wake up, and the way that I knew I was lucid dreaming was I'd always have kind of like, I'd wake up in a familiar place, but there's always like a trigger that I'm like, oh, that's not what, my room's pink, not blue. Oh, I'm dreaming. And so in this dream, I would wake up and I'm like, oh, the color's not right. It just wasn't right. So I would get up and I know I gotta go find my mom. And I would always walk the circle past my playroom into that little bathroom. And when I would get into that little bathroom, there'd be this woman. She was very tall and she was very pale and she had very, very, very red hair.
Oh.
You know? And she would look at me and she'd say, sit down. And then she would make me feel her pulse and she'd say, that's the fire. And I remember being like really freaked out. And then she would take me into my mom's room where my mom would be laying on her bed with her head hanging like off the bed with her head totally on fire. And then I would wake up.
That's weird.
What is that? Is that a redhead thing? I don't know. What is it? But that dream, I would have that dream. So I have one particular moment where I remember being in the hot tub, like going to Papa's house. And now that I say this, I don't even think this was when we weren't living there anymore. I was much older because I was in elementary school. My Papa would always pick me up. we'd go to McDonald's. They knew me by name. It was no big deal. I ate a lot of McDonald's as a kid. And we'd go to McDonald's, and another fun toy quirk about my papa was he always got doubles of the McDonald's toys. So I have like a bunch of McDonald's toys still in the packages from the early 90s that may or may not be some sort of like cool thing to have. They might be total trash, but he was just really into toys. Like he was so about it. So we'd always go to McDonald's, and he'd always get 2 toys, and he'd save one of them for me in the package still. And then we'd go back to his house, and sometimes he'd set me up with like my plate with my McDonald's. I'd be like lounging in the hot tub. It was pretty cool childhood. Eating my McDonald's. And I just remember, you know, like when the clouds go over the sun and like the light changes. Well, that happened. But it was just one of those where my immediate reaction was, oh my God, like the firewoman's here. And I was awake. And it was weird that I just remember like thinking that and then being like, why did I think that? Like,
wow.
So I have not had those dreams since I lived there, but a couple years later on, I was probably about, I'm going to say like 5th or 6th grade. I was still in elementary school, and I was sick, but my sister wasn't. So my papa was like, do you want to go to McDonald's? Big part of my childhood, guys. And they had a play place, right? Like, because that was the thing. Like, I was like, we can get lunch, and then you could go like play your heart out. So
Yeah.
he was like, well, I'm going to take Anna to the play place so she doesn't miss out. But I had my Harry Potter book, right? So I was like, I was good. I was set up. I was kicked back. I remember, like, legit, I was reading Harry Potter because when this happened, I was like, is it because I'm reading Harry Potter? I called it the back room. It was once like it's an enclosed porch now that's been finished, but it was once like a screened in porch. So this is where he keeps all of his cap guns and everything. But that's where the TV room was. And I kicked back there and I'm reading my book. And there was like this moment of realization that I was alone in the house for the first time probably ever.
Mm-hmm.
And I was alone in the house. And then I'm like trying to not focus on what's happening, you know, like you're not like listening to the silence because it's an old house. But the thing that was really particular was like my papa was a safety fanatic. Like Lion King was a big deal. It came out when we were kids, and we'd always play lions, and we were running around one day, and I just remember lions don't run, they walk. And I was like, no, dude, like I'm pretty sure they run, but that's fine. You know, like it was like you stepped easily at Papa's house. And that's because the floorboards were like, with every step, because like all those old nails were raised up from like years of moisture and old. And so when someone was walking around upstairs, it was so obvious. And I'm just sitting there reading my book, like I'm trying to ignore the fact that somebody is just walking the circle of the upstairs. Like I'm hearing it's not like a creepy house that's groaning or said, like somebody is upstairs motherfucking walking. And my first thought is get to the bathroom for safety, right? Because I can shut I can shut the door, I can lock it. The joke was on me because my papa had just refinished that bathroom, and for whatever reason they didn't think putting a lock on their bathroom door was important. I wasn't to learn this until I made the death sprint, because in order to get to that bathroom, I had to make the gambit through all these rooms and then like past the stairwell where I could see right up into the library, which is where I know all this haunted shit is happening. So that was really the end of things for me. But my grandpa always was like, he was very nonchalant about it. But like, I remember asking him one time, and he was like, oh yeah, you know, like Judy's, it's my grandma's name. He was like, Judy, you know, has had both of us really, you know, like one will lay down to go to bed while the other one's getting ready for bed. And then they feel that person lay down and cover up and lean over and pat them, and they roll over to say goodnight and no one's there.
They pat them?
Man.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Pat. They've been hugged. My papa has seen a woman. And if I remember right, I'll have to get clarification on this. I think the woman might have followed, which makes me think she's attached to something, because he would find random piece of women's clothing in this closet at the house where my nose was nasally probed. They'd find like random pieces of like old women's clothing that like didn't really belong there. And he'd like see a woman, and he watched her one time walk like just past him in the living room into the dining room area. Like my papa was, I've got some pictures of my papa on a Ouija board, like back in the 70s. So like that man was very open to all kinds of wild things. Now he, again, safety wise, like the minute he heard that I was going through my Gothic Wicca phase, he was like, don't you touch a Ouija board. He's like, you stay away from that. Don't you do it. And I'm over here like, I act like I haven't seen those pictures, papa. But so that's, and then he actually, the most recent one he actually told me about, he called me to tell me this one. He was always, it's funny, he was always like, he'd go to bed super, super early, and he was getting up at like 4 a.m. to work out and stuff. Like my papa was Popeye, like he could kill a man. And when he wasn't feeling well, he was having a harder time getting to sleep. And my grandma was always staying up, like she was a night owl. So one night he said it was like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, and he was drifting off to sleep. And as he was just starting to fall asleep, he heard someone, and he like jumped awake, and he goes, geez, man, you gotta warn a man. He jumped out of my skin. And my grandma goes, oh, that wasn't me. I just ignore it.
Oh, no.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
What in the world? Your grandparents are like the bravest people I've ever met in my life.
Well, here's the thing too. Like, not only that, this is what I think about, he passed away. It's been over a year now. And I'm like, and she's just living there. Like, no big thing. I'm like,
she's just fine.
Yeah.
She's used to it. It's like, what else? How could this get worse?
He's been hanging out with them, every night. He's been going to bed, leaving her to fend for herself with those ghosts. So there's always been like a spooky feel. And it's funny because the downstairs has never bothered me, but the minute I walk upstairs and my sister and I both like were trying to spend like a lot of time in that library, and I won't lie, I went there, and I like when he was passing, and I was like, I grabbed a pillow and a blanket. I was like, I'm going to sleep in the library. And 10 minutes later, my ass was asleep on the living room floor downstairs. I was like, just kidding. Not gonna happen. So yeah, it was definitely that house has got some stuff going on. And the other thing that was always really weird is it's got has fireplaces, but they've been cut, like blocked since then. So like my grandpa had a theory like that there's been some, I'm fogging, look at that's Florida heat. My grandpa had theories that like some people that were missing around like from years past, he was like, their bodies could be buried in this house, it could have been the previous owners. Like he was just like, what could it be? He's a conspiracy theorist. It's where I get it. I come by honestly. Like, if you tell me that there's something going on, I'm like, what is it? I fell down the Pizzagate hole. It was terrible.
Oh no!
I get I'm always like, oh my God. And I have to okay, just calm down. There's logical explanation for this always. But so that was my papa's house. Do you want me to keep going?
Yeah, go for it.
Stop me. This is literally, and I'd go to a friend's house and I'd be like, okay, tell me when it's time to leave. Because I will showboat.
There's no logical explanation for any of the stuff that you're talking about.
That's true. There is none.
There's not.
There really isn't.
It's just
Other
a ghost.
than maybe,
they're just ghosts.
There's just ghosts, truly. Honestly, there's a little boy and there's a woman and there's something dark. Okay? But here's the problem. I feel like every story I'm going to tell, I'm going to come back to there being a child and something like a woman and something dark. So yes, I think I'm freaking haunted, aren't I? Okay.
Totally.
So here's
you.
It's me. Damn it.
Yeah.
I gotta find some sage. Okay. But
That's
the good news is I've learned from you guys what to do. Do it and tell them to get out. So
open the windows. Make sure you open the windows.
Yes. Okay. Shit. I was gonna forget that part. Okay. Windows, sage, get out. So now, please. So I didn't really have anything really crazy happen until years later. A previous relationship before the one I'm in now, which was actually I had boyfriends in high school, but before that I had one really long-term relationship. It was 8.5 years. And early on in our relationship, we lived in a completely different city from where we'd grown up because he was going to nursing school. And listen, the cost of living in Indiana is completely different. Like I moved down to Florida and I was like, wow, Indiana is cheap. So believe me when I tell you this, but I rented an apartment in this city for $275 a month.
Oh my
Okay?
God.
Yes. I should have expected the roaches and the rats for that price, but I didn't. I was surprised, weirdly enough.
Shocked.
How did these guys get here? So don't mind me. My mustache is sweating from the humidity. So you can't tell that I'm lifting my skirt up. So this house, okay, so we rented this apartment in this house. It was an old home that had been converted. Hello.
It's all your weird stuff is happening to Lindsay now.
Yeah, this is what this was. I'm passing it on.
I'm always a distraction. I'm sorry.
No, I'm for it. I need it sometimes. It helps me. So it was one of those things where like we needed a place and we were ready. Like we were living with his parents and we were like, let's just do it. And I was like, I found a place for $275 a month. Get the heck out. And we went, we checked it out. It was definitely like a clean it yourself kind of gig. Gross. Excuse me. It was one of those, like it never got clean. It was never clean. And it was an old home that had been converted. So there was downstairs neighbors and upstairs neighbors. And like, listen, the downstairs neighbors, we would need a podcast with a different topic. It's it's amazing. They were totally dealing weed, totally raising chihuahuas, which was awesome. But like their chihuahuas were always dressed to the nines. Like I would look out the window and like chihuahua had like bikini and like tutus. We were living in like the ghetto. And this like, oh my God, these dogs were so bougie. And it was just funny because they fought all the time. Oh, they fought so much, but they were so nice. Like they were really great downstairs neighbors. And the great thing was they were keeping the roaches at bay. They were bombing the roaches. So they never came upstairs to me until they moved out.
Oh,
but anyways, so this apartment was just an adventure on its own. My first time living, not with my parents or this boyfriend's parents, and it's my own place and no one's going to tell me it's gross. It was disgusting. And I did my best to make it my own. My first day there, and this is kind of the theme of that relationship, was there by myself cleaning that house. And, but it was fine. I was stoked, right? The kitchen was my favorite part because it was massive. It was so big. It was probably like the original master bedroom, and it had windows on all sides except for where all the kitchen sink and everything was. So it was depressing to be in there and wash dishes, but aside from that, it had these old windows that had these sills, these like 3-inch sills. So I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna put all these beautiful glass bottles around here and it's gonna be great. So I started scrubbing these window sills. My God, they were so covered in grime. It was so gross. But I got to this one windowsill and the word bruja was written 6 times in white crayon. I'm not making this shit up. I stood there for the longest time and I'm like, I recognize this word. Like I'm not bilingual, but I took 4 years of Spanish. This is the Spanish word for witch or wizard. That's weird. I'm immediately like, what's going on? So I called my cousin and she's like, dude, next thing you're going to find bloody footprints on the ceiling. And at this point, I'm like laying on this nasty floor that smells of I don't even know what it smelled like. Probably a million years of people's skin cells. I'm laying on this floor and I look up on the ceiling and now listen, it wasn't blood, but it looked very similar to what it would be like if somebody took a small baby doll and dipped its foot in pink paint and then like a handprint. And I was like, and I immediately got this stool and I was like, I don't know what any of this is. I'm scrubbing it. And it came right off. But it was just one of those things where you're like, that's strange.
That is so weird.
So weird. So weird. Then the other strange finding of the day was I went into the bathroom, which I thought was a yellow bathroom until I got to scrubbing those walls. It was white. This is where whoever lived there smoked millions of marbles.
Yeah. Oh.
And it had this weird walk-in closet. I walk in, and there are rabbit droppings on the floor. Okay? Now, here's me. I've always had all manners of little critters. I've had rats and mice and
Mm-hmm.
rabbits. And so, you know, like rabbit turds are round and rat turds are like little cylinders. And I was like, these are rabbit turds. Why are there rabbits? So here I am. I'm like, okay, some people are doing some weird shit with animals in this witchcraft house, clearly.
Yeah.
But whatever, you know, it's fine. It's no big deal. It's literally not even the theme of my time in this apartment. I only stayed there for a year. Here comes into play where my brain, I think, likes to just push things out, because I kind of like, it was my first time away from home. I was like an hour away, like 30 minutes away from my home, but like more like almost 2 hours away from my mom, who had just moved to another town too. And like, it's taken me a long time to get off that tit. So it was sad. And it was kind of like, it was a depressing time in my life, like intermedical cannabis. And so I don't remember a lot of that year, but this is when that relationship, now mind you, we were only about 2.5 years into this 8.5-year relationship. This is when the relationship should have ended. There was just
We've all been
bad,
there.
yeah, you know, just like it was not working. Bad vibes, bad feels. So this is where like you got like a lot of emotion coming in. There's a lot of just bad vibe, okay?
Yeah.
Now, I've never met my landlord, okay? That's sketchy, right? I've never even really met his secretary. I dropped my deposit. This person should be reported to the BBB. I'm pretty sure that this home has since been, I don't think this guy's in business. I read a lot of bad reviews after the fact. I learned a lot with this apartment. There's always the first one, right, guys?
Oh, yeah.
So the oven never worked. That entire year I lived there, I didn't have an oven. Guess what was nearby, though? McDonald's.
Yes.
So enter Mickey D's yet again, saving the day. Papa taught me, right? So ate a lot of McDonald's, ate a lot of baked potatoes in the microwave. I know if you want to slam in baked potato, I got your back. I know how to spice it just right. But the other thing was, this was an upstairs apartment with no AC at all, which was no problem until the summer hit. And now all of a sudden that kitchen with all those windows, that kitchen is like 95 degrees and it's hell. And it's so bad. We have one window air conditioning and one window unit and one window that it'll fit in, which is the living room. So at this point, the rent makes sense because we're just living in one room of this entire house. We have our mattress in the living room. We have a blanket over the door. The AC is there. I was the shoe supervisor at Kohl's. It's a great Kohl's. Great job. Great place. Great people. Management sucks, but you know, it's hard to find a good manager. So I'm working at Kohl's, and my ex at the time is going through nursing school, and he's just completed it. Just completed his year, and he was getting ready to get a student nursing job back in our hometown. So hold on, let me backtrack. I've gone way too far ahead in the story. Backtrack. Nasty apartment. We're living in the living room. I'm doing my damnedest to keep this apartment clean. Bad vibes, right? It's just been weird. I come home one day and I pull back my little blanket curtain, and this living room that I've just like scrubbed because it's always disgusting. I've just scrubbed it. There sits this fountain pop, Polar Pop, you know, gas station soda.
Oh, okay.
Like one of those big 44-ounce boys. We're really into soda in Indiana. And I'm so mad because I'm like, you mother, throw it away. Like, did you not like see like what I have done to our home? And as I'm standing there staring at this fountain soda, which by the way was not empty, that fountain soda just kind of flew across, like just like fell off the table. You know, and I did one of those where I was just like, I'm going to leave now. And I turned around.
Oh my God. Dude.
It was just little. So there were little things. There was one day that I was in that bathroom cleaning. And as I was vacuuming, now the window hadn't been there. It was like they just cut a square out and stuck a window in there. And then they didn't finish it. So there was no like windowsill, no like border around it. No, nothing. This house. And I'm like vacuuming the curtain to get the dust off of it. And like a little pin falls down, like that you would pin to your shirt.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a little cross with a purple shroud. And I'm like, what is this? Because it's not mine, and there's nowhere for it to have come from, and that's my curtain. So I like took it to my boyfriend because his mom was Catholic, and I was like, "Is this your mom's? Is this a Catholic thing? What is this?" And he was like, he goes, "Must be from your ghost." And I was like, "Don't
wow,
do that to me." Not funny
nice.
because oh my god, like it's so hot out here. Okay, so all those little things are happening, and it's just like I said, bad vibes. And at this point, we're not really spending a lot of time in the apartment. We're either like going to family or going to see friends. And one particular night, we have a pretty bad fight. And the funny thing is as I say that it's a relationship that should have ended, it's really just because like we were not into each other. We didn't really fight often. He was a pretty peaceful person, which probably is what pissed me off because I'm like kind of like let's go, fight me. He didn't want to fight me. Not really. I mean, maybe a little. But anyways, we had this really bad fight. And he left to go stay at a friend's house, which I was like, oh my God, I don't do well with that. And I remember going to sleep in that living room and just waking up and seeing just shadows on the other side of like that curtain, like the sheet that we had hanging up, like they were just shadow people raving in my kitchen, you know, like, and I just remember laying there, like I felt sick, I felt dizzy. It was like I was laying there, I was like, what is, like I called like I was like, I'm never gonna talk to you, and I called him. I was like, I don't feel okay. And he was like, I'm on the side of the road right now, my car has a flat tire, Dad's on his way to come get me and he's bringing me back to the house, which was really weird. But then we ended up going back and staying at his family's house for like a week. And when we came back, that's when the downstairs neighbors had bailed and the roaches had moved in. So like, I'm talking, we got home that night at midnight and we had the place packed by 7 a.m. I was like, we need to get out of here. And we were leaving anyways because he'd had that student nurse job coming up back in our hometown. But we still had like a month left on the lease. And we called his mom and we were like, can you help us out on getting a U-Haul? Because like we've got we came, like I'm talking, like I walked in and I was like, I'm finding like 6 roaches. If we don't get our shit out now, we got a problem. We're gonna have roaches. So we bailed. But it was just like when I look back on that time in that house, really all I can say is it was really just energy driven. That was a really like bad mojo scene, man.
Yeah. So you think it was because like your relationship, like how y'all weren't really
I think there was
happy, you just kind of said, come on over here, ghosts. I
think that was like, it was like just so much negativity that they were like, oh, I'm gonna dive right into this cesspool bullshit, this is great. Like it was definitely like a stressful time. Now, but like I'm sure I feel like I had some other ones that'll come to me because I've done that thing now where I've like talked out with my spooky, but I did have a very recent one. And then in the house I'm in right now. And this one was one of those where, yes, it's true. You do just roll over and go back to sleep, don't you? Because I'd never really like had that moment, but like, okay, so I've just been getting these vibes, right? Again, just these vibes. And here's the deal. We have so much estrogen in this home. Like it's me and my 3 stepdaughters and we have some ladies and the sisters bicker and, you know, and it's whatever, it's normal, but like, is that the energy that's bringing it? I don't know. Is it the house? I want to blame the house because nothing happened at our last house and the sisters always bicker. So whatever. The other night, I was going to bed, and can you hear that? There's a motorbike going by, and they're being obnoxious. Anyway,
it's okay. My dogs keep barking.
I'm like, we get it. You're zooming down the road. You're very fast. I was going to bed, and it was one of those, like, I turned off my bedside lamp, and I always have, like, a light on in the kitchen, and then the girls always have night lights on. And we always leave our door open. And I am like light sensitive psychopath. It's like putting tape over like all the chargers. So I'm very like aware of the light situation. And when I turned that lamp off, I remember my first thought was, oh, it's really dark in here, like inky dark. But whatever, I went to sleep. When I woke up, I remember thinking, oh my gosh, I'm lucid dreaming because the room's color had changed. I remember being like, oh my God, I haven't done this in so long. And I was like, I couldn't move, so I'm like, oh, sleep paralysis. Like, here I go, I'm going to astral project out of this bitch. And then I like sat up, I like sat right up and I was like, oh, no, I'm awake. So then I'm like sitting there and I'm like, what's going on? Because there was like this almost like a pulsating to the light and there was no pattern to it. Like maybe there was a light, like it was like a storm and there was lightning happening. And then I looked to the doorway and there was just this very large black shadow, like inking. And I'm like, okay, it's my eyes, and it's inking closer. And it got to the foot of the bed. And I'm not kidding you. I just laid down and pulled the blankets over my head because I was like, all right, that's what you do. Mm-hmm. But then I felt like, like when your dog's stepping to get up onto the bed, like I felt something step onto the bed. And that's when I was like, oh,
man.
No. I sat up and I turned that lamp light on and I was like, so I've been sleeping with the lights on lately.
Oh,
that's pretty recent.
Sucks. Yeah.
Like, and I feel like my boyfriend's like, it's fine. He's like, it's not. And I'm like, no, it's something. Something was there. Or I'm crazy and that's also fine. But I was still scared.
Yeah.
And then the other morning I was in the bathroom and so our dog is like, we have these little lizards everywhere and my dog he loves to hunt these lizards and they're his friends, like he's like, I used to have a little friend, but he don't move no more because he gets them and he plays with them until they don't have tails and they're like dead. And I'm like, buddy, gotta be gentle. So if I get up, around 6 a.m. to go use the restroom and he's always like, let's go get lizards. So he's like, ooh, ready to go. So he's always like, I'm in the bathroom, I'll shut the door and he'll sit down and like flump down next to that door, like there's no privacy. And he's like right under my door. So I know, he's done this his whole life. So I know what it sounds like when my dog's slumping next to the door. I'm in the bathroom and I'm sitting there and I hear this very obvious knock, 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 knock on the door. And I'm like, yeah, who's awake? What do you want? And like no one answers. And I come out of the bathroom and I guess it was a little bit later because my littlest one was awake, but she was like laying in bed, like just playing video games because, we're that family. And my boyfriend was in our bed on his phone. And I'm like, did you knock on the bathroom door? And he was like, no. And I said to Nora, I was like, did you knock on the bathroom door? And she was like, no, but I heard a knock. And I'm like, all right, well, you're not invited. Don't come in. So I don't know, and then there's just like constant things out of the corner of my eye, but I work with wool. So is it wool flying around? I don't know. Could be.
Who knows?
Definitely ghosts.
It's you. Yeah. It's
me.
Yeah.
You're the haunted one. You're bringing it in.
Start eating some sage. Just need to eat it.
Put it
sage salad.
Put it in your body. Yeah.
Now, I definitely did have those moments, because I went through my phase where like my friends and I were like, we're going to play with Ouija boards.
Yeah, we're witches.
Yeah.
It's a rite of passage. If you're a girl, you have to do it.
Yeah. We all did it.
Lighting candles to the east and the west, inviting things in, man. On my 15th birthday, we were in a tent in my backyard because, that's cool. That's really cool. And it was my cousin and my friend Christine and I, my frenemy. Sorry, I totally played on me. I'm like, guys, check it out. We're friends on Facebook. What's up, Christine? So we're in the tent and we got this because no one's mom's buying us a damn Ouija board, so we got to make our own. So we have our little makeshift pulled out and my cousin's like noping right out of it. She's like, y'all, like, I ain't got time for this. So she rolls over, and Christine and I are sitting there. We're like, is anybody there? Is anyone there? At one point, and I don't know if I don't trust any of these girls that I was friends with that I was playing on the Ouija board with. They were all liars. They were moving it. I don't believe them. Because it was always like, the ghost thinks Christine is hot and Crystal's dumb. And I'm like,
Yeah.
come on.
Yeah.
You ain't fooling
That
me.
makes sense. Yeah.
Ghost thinks I'm totally sexy. So clearly, I mean, they're following me around. So I just remember we started hearing some very obvious like feet plodding around the tent, and at one point like it just looked like some fingers like pushing in on that tent, and who knows what I've invited in on those various preteen bathroom candlelit seances where ghosts were talking about how lame I am.
I think that they were probably upset with your friends. They were like, she's not lame.
Yeah.
We follow her everywhere.
She's so cool. Yeah. She knows all the cool ghost stories, guys. She's met my brother. Like, it's fine. So, and honestly, I can't pull anything out of my butt right now because it's probably my nose, to be honest. But those are my big spookies.
I love them. Thank you so much for sharing them.
No problem.
You're definitely haunted, but you've got the right idea. I mean, honestly, like, they're not going to do anything to you. Like, if you can live harmoniously with them, like, or you can just ask them to leave, maybe.
Yeah, so like every once in a while, my littlest has, nightmares, and she comes and gets me, and she calls me mom. So she comes and she'll get me. She'll be like, Mom, I had a nightmare. And I'll be like, okay. So I walk with her back to her room, and I'm always like, oh, well, what was the dream about? And she usually doesn't remember. And I'll be like, oh, well, let's dream about unicorns and rainbows and happy things. And, these are happy things that are going to happen today. And the last time it happened, I just got like this vibe that like she woke up and something had scared her, like I just got a feel. So I had this, like, as I was leaving her bedroom door, I literally I was standing in her doorway, and I puffed my chest. I was just like, no. Like, get out. So then I was like, oh, look at me. Like, mommy makes me not scared. If aliens show up, they're doomed. I'm going to just go back to bed and hope that they just forget whatever happens to them, because I'm fine. I turned out okay.
Totally.
Emphasis on okay. Good.
I mean, it's like what your granddad did for you, where he went around the house and told the little boy to leave you alone.
Yeah, get out. He also I remember, get out. I told him one time that I was really, really scared of aliens, because I was like, listen, like, I'm just pretty sure they're going to come get me. And he was like, do you know what I would do if an alien ever came and landed in this yard? And I was like, what would you do? And he was like, I would beat him with a stick. And I was like, yeah, all right. So like, I was good. Then when my papa passed, I was like, shit. I was going to beat the aliens with a stick. I'm doomed. So great. Now they know. Like, I'm like shouting it at the top of my lungs that she's free.
We're gonna broadcast this too, and like, those are
they're gonna pick it up. They're gonna zoom right over from Mars. They're like, listen, Elon Musk, they're tired of waiting on him. They're coming away for me. Because that's the thing. It's always the people we're the people of interest they come for. They think we're not, but we're not. Dude. That's why they come for us. Come for us people that aren't going to get listened to.
I mean, like, why would they listen to a celebrity or somebody who's well known? Because then they're just going to be crazy. But if you talk to somebody who doesn't have that type of status, they could still be crazy, but they could also, nobody would believe them.
Yeah, just fly under the radar, bastards, aliens.
So you need this sage if you want them to leave for sure. And then tell them to leave.
Do I want them to leave? You
can set boundaries.
Maybe you can tell them.
Yeah, if you want them to stick around, you could just say, bathrooms off limits.
Yeah,
kids off limits.
Yeah, leave the kids alone. Don't sneak up on me. And hey, spooky shadow thing, get out of here.
I just really appreciate it if you didn't come back and I never saw you again.
Yeah. It's been great.
Don't get in bed with me.
Yeah,
Don't fucking watch me.
dude, boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
Probably a fucking man.
100%.
It's a fucking man go.
They just, oh yeah, he's like, I do whatever I want.
I know. Those are one of the things that like we need to cut out. Like I always say awful shit like that.
Yeah, all the male listeners are like, my God.
We're not cutting it out. It's staying in.
Ah,
The majority,
It's truth.
the majority of our listeners are women.
They're
Just
women.
saying. Mm-hmm. Like
Yeah,
90% women. So they probably agree.
That's
It was a
true.
man. You always hear shadow men, the hat man.
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
hear shadow women. So
Women are like, fuck this shit. Women are like, I've worked out all my issues. I fucking died. I'm getting the fuck out.
yeah. And
Right?
if they aren't, if
We're
they're around, they're showing themselves. You see the women ghosts. They're like, what's up? I'm here. Like, I'm here. Don't be freaked out. Like,
yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
it's
in
always
this
like motherly
Victorian
person.
corset dress that I've spent
Yeah.
a lot of time getting into, and I cannot get out of it now. So you're gonna
God.
see me. Mm-hmm.
And all I did in my life was float back and forth and write letters. So you're gonna just watch me do that. It was really, really boring. House
life
calls.
of-
Come on. I read a lot of gothic romances, and I'm like, God, what a life. Just go visit your friends, and they're always like, it's so boring. And I'm like, no, shut up. Don't eat carpets and drink tea.
That'd be great.
And I
We
was
could all be like
made for Downton
Marie
Abbey.
Antoinette.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Hey, you know what? I was Marie Antoinette reheaded for Halloween one time.
That's really good.
That's cool.
I really
That's
like
a really
that,
good
yeah.
idea.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I used a lot of blood. It was awesome. It was a good time.
I like
Yeah.
it. I like it.
Yeah. Oh, I did want to say, I was stoked actually because I've been listening to you guys, but I'm like way in the past still. So like the other night I was like, I should probably like jump ahead a little bit because who knows what's happening now? You know, it's 2020, and you guys were talking about Dyatlov Pass or Dyatlov. You know, the pass.
Yeah.
Dyatlov. And I was just stoked because that's like my favorite what the heck happened story. So
That's
that
a
was
cool
really
story.
cool. But I did
Is
want to
that the
bring up
story that I
like,
told?
Yeah, that's the one about
with the
the
hikers in the mountain.
The hikers, yeah.
I'll tell you an interesting thing because I actually just listened to a podcast about the whole thing. There is a dude that joined those hikers like last minute. They were like a party of people, and then last minute there was this guy that was like, "Hey, my party canceled. Can I join you guys?" And so he was not really. So he joined in. They think he might have been a spy.
Ooh.
So that was interesting. Yeah, like he might have been like maybe the KGB or something like, or so maybe it was like military or government involvement with whatever went down. You know,
See, and I read that. I
Wow.
briefly read that they thought it was government involvement, but it didn't elaborate
I
on
know.
what that meant. Like that's
and
all I saw.
I had never heard that this guy was a last minute addition, and I was like, that's so eerie. But like, also, I mean, it was aliens. Let's be honest, but
Obviously.
I'm definitely on the alien side with that one. It's too weird.
I don't
But
know,
anyway,
man.
I was just really stoked because I was like, oh my God, they're talking about the past, and that's my favorite. Animal.
Good job, Lindsay.
You know what's really funny? What's funny is that we were listed in an article saying that we were like we were a podcast to check out, and it was like just started episode 87, and I was like, that's like
no,
like a few episodes ago.
no, we started episode
Don't start at
one.
the beginning. They're like, it's fucking trash.
No,
Just
I'm
the
cracking
first
up.
10, 13, not good. The rest of them, they kind of get their shit together and then listen to them from there.
I'm sitting there, I'm listening to it, and like you guys will make a movie reference. You're like, what's that movie? And I'm over here, I'm like, it's Pineapple Express, guys.
Yeah. I know
Oh,
that
man,
people,
I was there.
I just know that people are yelling at us. I get it.
No, I'm
Yeah.
like, I love it. I love it. Cause I'm like, yeah. And then like you guys, or like, you know, you just bring up something. I'm like, oh, I love that movie. It's great.
We have so much in common.
It's so much fun. So it's been great. Yeah, it's awesome. So then now here I am. Like I made it, Mom. Here I
Yeah,
am.
Look at you.
Look at
I know.
You're on a
You're gonna-
podcast that all girls
Yeah.
listen to.
You're
I
going to
know,
get
actually-
famous.
I
real
actually I
famous.
have a lot of friends that are pretty stoked to listen to it, and so like
Aw.
I've gained you some, like, not to be like but you're gonna get more listeners because they're gonna be like, Crystal's on there, so like whatever. What's up, Olivia, Tracy, Megan? Hi guys. Slipped that in.
You did
Now we're
really
all
good.
famous. Now we're
I
all famous.
know.
Listen,
anyways, yeah.
Crystal,
Okay, go ahead.
no, it's okay. Well, thank you for joining us, Crystal, and sharing your stories.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, it was great, and we loved learning more about you and your creepy experiences with fucking aliens and ghosts.
Thanks.
If anybody else would like for us to share their story, we are happy to do that. You can send them to us at ihaveastrangestorypodcast@gmail.com. That's what Crystal did, and then look at her now. Look at her now.
I'm famous.
Look at her.
I'm on YouTube.
Yeah, and we
Nobody watches it.
we have
I do.
41 subscribers.
I know, it's
That's nice.
awesome. That's awesome.
41.
Cool, dude. I'm
Yeah,
proud of them.
pretty soon. Yeah, me too, but
that.
whatever.
That's you know, like, lay that brick.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So you can send us your stories. We'll be happy to read them, or maybe you can join the show, whatever works.
Yeah, and subscribe, rate, and review us. If you give us a review, please make it a nice one. And take a snapshot of your review, send it to our email address, and with your physical mailing address, and we will mail you some stickers. And I guess until next time.
Bye. Bye.